The billionaire sat alone at the frozen bus stop, staring at nothing. His company was worth $3 billion. His penthouse overlooked Central Park, and he just realized he had absolutely no reason to go home. Then a homeless kid walked up and asked the one question that would destroy everything Ryan Whitmore thought he knew about his perfect, empty life. This is the story of how one Christmas night shattered a man who had everything and saved a woman who had nothing, and why neither of them would ever be the same again. Drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. And stick around until the end, because what happens in part 5 will leave you speechless. The coffee had gone cold an hour ago. Ryan Whitmore didn't care. He sat on the metal bench at the Madison Avenue bus stop, his $2,000 coat doing absolutely nothing against the kind of cold that came from the inside, and watched his breath cloud in the December air. Snow fell in lazy spirals through the streetlights. Somewhere down the block, a taxi honked. Christmas lights blinked red and green in the windows of closed shops. He checked his phone. 11:47 p.m. Merry fucking Christmas. The screen showed 63 unread emails, 12 missed calls from his assistant, and one text message from his former mother-in-law. Sophia's asleep. She had a wonderful day. We'll bring her home tomorrow afternoon. Ryan typed back, "Thank you," then deleted it. Typed, "Tell her I love her," then deleted that too. Finally settled on "sounds good" and hit send before he could overthink it. That was the problem with being a billionaire, he thought bitterly. You could buy anything except the ability to talk to your own daughter without feeling like a stranger. A bus rumbled past without stopping. The route sign said it was heading to Queens. Ryan wondered what it would be like to just get on. No destination, no plan, just movement for the sake of not sitting still. But he didn't move. He'd been sitting at this bus stop for almost 2 hours now, ever since leaving the office Christmas party where everyone had been aggressively cheerful, and he'd smiled until his face hurt and then walked out into the snow without telling anyone goodbye. His driver had called 4 times asking where to pick him up. Ryan had turned his phone to silent and kept walking until his feet went numb. Now here he was, 32 years old, CEO of Whitmore Technologies. Forbes' 30 under 40 list 3 years running. Estimated net worth somewhere north of $3 billion depending on stock prices. Owner of a penthouse that cost more than most people would earn in 10 lifetimes. And he couldn't remember the last time he'd felt anything except tired. "Excuse me?" Ryan's head snapped up. A kid stood in front of him, maybe 6 years old, wearing a coat that was too thin and boots that were too big. His face was red from the cold, his dark hair sticking up at odd angles under a knit cap with a hole in it. He had the kind of eyes that looked too serious for a child, eyes that had already seen too much. "Yeah," Ryan said. The kid studied him with that unnerving directness that only children could pull off. "Why do you look so sad?" Ryan blinked. "What?" "You look sad," the kid repeated. "My mom says you can always tell when someone's sad even if they're trying to hide it. She says it shows in the eyes." For a long moment, Ryan just stared at this random child who'd apparently decided to psychoanalyze him at midnight on Christmas. He should probably say something reassuring. Kids weren't supposed to worry about sad adults at bus stops. "I'm fine," Ryan said. "Just tired." "That's what my mama says too," the kid said. "But she's sad, I can tell." "Noah!" A woman rushed over, pulling the kid back by his shoulder. She was young, early 30s maybe, with dark blonde hair pulled back in a messy ponytail and a jacket that was even thinner than the kid's. Her face was pale, her eyes shadowed with exhaustion that went deeper than missing one night's sleep. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly. "He didn't mean to bother you. Noah, what did I tell you about talking to strangers?" "He looked sad, Mom." "That's—" She closed her eyes briefly, and Ryan saw her jaw tighten. "That's not our business, baby. Come on." She started to pull the kid away, but Noah resisted. "It's Christmas," the boy said stubbornly. "Nobody should be sad on Christmas." The woman, his mother, made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been something else entirely. "Noah, please." Ryan should let them go. Should go back to staring at nothing and feeling sorry for himself in peace, but something about the way the woman wouldn't quite look at him, the way she held herself like she was braced for a hit, made him pause. "It's okay," he heard himself say. "He's not bothering me." The woman finally met his eyes, and Ryan saw it immediately. That flash of automatic wariness that came from learning the hard way that kindness usually had a price. "We should get going anyway," she said. Her hand was still on the kid's shoulder, protective. Say goodnight, Noah. Where are you going? The question came out before Ryan could stop it. Wrong thing to ask. The woman's expression shuddered completely. That's really none of your concern, she said, polite but flat. Mom, I'm cold, Noah said quietly. Something flickered across the woman's face. Pain, guilt, anger. Ryan couldn't tell. She pulled the kid closer. I know, baby. We're going to the diner, remember? They'll have the heat on. To sleep? We'll see. Ryan understood then, in the way you understand things that you don't want to be true. The too thin coats, the exhaustion, the fact that they were standing at a bus stop after midnight on Christmas with nowhere else to go. You're homeless, he said. The woman's spine went rigid. We're between situations. That's not... I didn't mean... Ryan stopped, realized he was making it worse. I'm sorry. That came out wrong. We're fine, the woman said. Her voice had gone hard. We don't need anything. Come on, Noah. Wait. Ryan stood up, and the woman immediately took a step back. He held up his hands. Sorry, I'm not... Look, I'm not trying to be an asshole. We're fine, she repeated. You're going to try to sleep in a diner. It's warm and safe, and frankly, still none of your business. You're right, Ryan said. Absolutely right. I'm a stranger at a bus stop asking invasive questions. But no buts. The woman's eyes flashed. Thank you for your concern, but we don't need charity from... I'm not offering charity. The words came out sharper than Ryan intended. He took a breath, tried again. I'm offering a warm place to sleep for one night. No strings. Just... Christ, it's Christmas. The woman stared at him like he'd just suggested something obscene. You want me and my son to go home with a complete stranger, she said slowly. Because it's Christmas. I have a daughter, Ryan said. She's 7. If we had nowhere to go, I'd hope someone would... Would what? Invite her into their home, a man she'd never met? The woman's voice was shaking now. Do you have any idea how that sounds? I'm not... Ryan ran a hand through his hair, frustration building. Look, I'm not some creep trolling for vulnerable women. I saw you and your son, and I thought, what did you think? She was angry now, properly angry. That we're some charity case you can feel good about helping? That we're desperate enough to trust a stranger who probably... My wife died, Ryan said. The words dropped into the space between them like a stone into still water. The woman's mouth closed. Noah looked up at him with those 2 serious eyes. 4 years ago, Ryan continued. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. Car accident. I have a daughter who just spent Christmas with her grandparents because I can't handle being around happy families without falling apart. I left my own company Christmas party tonight because I couldn't stand being around people anymore. And I've been sitting at this bus stop for 2 hours trying to figure out why the hell I have everything and feel like I have nothing. He stopped. The woman was staring at him. I'm not offering charity, Ryan said quietly. I'm offering a spare bedroom in an apartment that's too big and too empty. One night, you can leave first thing in the morning. I'll sleep on the couch. You'll never have to see me again. The silence stretched out. Snow continued to fall. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. Why? The woman finally asked. Her anger had drained away, leaving only exhaustion. Why do you care? Ryan looked at Noah, who was shivering despite trying to hide it. Because your kid asked me why I looked sad, he said. And I can't remember the last time anyone actually asked me that. Not my assistant, not my board of directors, not my daughter, just a kid at a bus stop who noticed. The woman's jaw worked. She looked down at Noah, then back at Ryan. What's your name? She asked. Ryan Whitmore. Something changed in her expression. The tech guy? Yeah. Jesus, eh? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Of course, the billionaire. Does that matter? It means you're either genuinely trying to help or you're used to getting whatever you want. Her eyes were hard again. And I've learned not to trust rich men with generous offers. I'm not asking for anything, Ryan said. Everyone asks for something eventually. Then I'll be the exception. Why should I believe you? Because... Ryan stopped, looked at her, really looked at her, saw the fear under the defiance, the desperation she was fighting to hide, the protective fury of a mother who would burn the world down before letting anyone hurt her child. Because you're right not to trust me. I'm a stranger. This is insane. If I were you, I'd tell me to go to hell. The woman's expression softened slightly. Then why are you offering? Ryan thought about his empty penthouse, his daughter's empty bedroom, the business meetings and conference calls and quarterly reports that filled every hour of every day and meant absolutely nothing. Because that kid is freezing, he said simply, and you look like you haven't slept in a week, and maybe helping you helps me feel like less of a waste of space. The brutal honesty seemed to catch her off guard. She studied his face for a long moment. Emily, she said finally, my name is Emily Carter, and this is Noah. Hi, Noah. Hi, Noah said. Are you still sad? Yeah, buddy, I am. That's okay, Noah said seriously. Mom says sometimes being sad is just how things are for a while. Emily's eyes went bright. She looked away quickly, blinking hard. Ryan felt something crack open in his chest, some part of him that had been locked down so tight for so long that he'd forgotten it was there. Your mom sounds smart, he said. She is, Noah agreed. She knows lots of things, like how to make really good pasta and how to fix broken toys, and she knows all the constellations. Not all of them, Emily said quietly. Her voice was rough. Most of them, Noah insisted. Ryan looked at Emily. She was staring at the snow-covered sidewalk, her jaw clenched against whatever she was feeling. One night, she said. We leave first thing in the morning. Okay. You sleep on the couch. Okay. And if you try anything, I will make you regret being born. Understood. She finally looked at him. I don't trust you. Good, Ryan said. You shouldn't. But Noah is cold, and Her voice cracked slightly. I'm so tired. I know. This doesn't mean we're friends. I know. And I don't need saving. Ryan thought about the bus stop, the hours of sitting in the cold, the emptiness that had swallowed his entire life. Neither do I, he said. Emily studied him for another moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, she said. Okay. One night, Ryan pulled out his phone and called his driver. The car ride was silent, except for Noah's occasional questions about the leather seats and the buttons on the door panel. Emily sat rigid in the back seat, her arm around her son, her eyes tracking every turn. Ryan sat in the front passenger seat and tried not to think about how insane this was. He'd just invited 2 homeless strangers into his home on Christmas night. His lawyers would have an aneurysm. His security team would quit. His daughter would... Actually, Sophia would probably think it was the coolest thing he'd done in years. The thought made him smile despite himself. What's funny? Emily asked sharply. Nothing, Ryan said. Just thinking about my daughter. She would like this. Like what? The fact that I'm doing something impulsive for once. Emily didn't respond. When Ryan glanced back, she was staring out the window with her jaw set, looking like she was already regretting her decision. The car pulled up to Ryan's building on Central Park West. The doorman, Marcus, working the graveyard shift, did an admirable job of hiding his surprise at seeing his boss arrive with a woman and child who were clearly not from their usual tax bracket. Evening, Mr. Whitmore, Marcus said smoothly. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Marcus. These are my guests for the night, Emily and Noah Carter. Ma'am, young man, Marcus tipped his hat. Welcome. Emily mumbled something that might have been a thank you. Noah stared up at the building's ornate facade with wide eyes. Is this where you live? The boy asked. Yeah, Ryan said. It's really tall. 42 floors. Whoa. The elevator ride was even more uncomfortable than the car ride. Emily stood in the corner with Noah pressed against her side, her eyes darting to the floor numbers as they climbed. Ryan leaned against the opposite wall and tried to figure out what the hell he was supposed to say. So you're homeless? That must be rough. How long have you been sleeping in diners? What happened to Noah's father? All terrible options. He kept his mouth shut. The elevator doors opened directly into his penthouse foyer. Emily's intake of breath was audible. Ryan tried to see the space through her eyes. The marble floors. The modern art on the walls. The floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, the double-height ceilings, the Christmas tree in the corner that he'd paid a decorator $5,000 to set up and hadn't bothered to turn on. It looked like something from a magazine spread. Beautiful, perfect, completely lifeless. Jesus Christ, Emily whispered. Mom said a bad word, Noah said, but he didn't sound accusatory. He sounded awed. Ryan walked in and turned on the lights. Guest room is this way. Bathroom attached. There should be towels and everything. He led them down the hall, acutely aware of how Emily's shoulders had gone even more rigid. The guest room was enormous. King-size bed, sitting area, private bathroom with a walk-in shower and separate tub. Ryan's housekeeper kept it ready for guests who never came. You can sleep here, he said, then immediately felt stupid. Obviously, they could sleep here. That was the entire point. Emily stood in the doorway like she was afraid to enter. It's clean, Ryan added. Sheets were just changed. He gestured vaguely. Stuff in the bathroom, toothbrushes, shampoo, whatever. Okay, Emily said faintly. Noah had already run to the windows. Mom, you can see the whole park. Don't touch anything, Emily said automatically. I'm not. Ryan backed toward the door. Kitchen's down the hall if you get hungry. Help yourself to whatever. I'll be in the living room if you need anything. Okay? Okay. They stared at each other. Ryan was suddenly hyper-aware of how close they were standing, how exhausted she looked, how her guard was still up even as her body was sagging with relief at being somewhere warm. Thank you, Emily said quietly. Don't, Ryan said. Don't thank me yet. You might change your mind in the morning. Why would I? Because this is weird, Ryan said bluntly. All of this. You should be suspicious. Emily's mouth twitched. I am suspicious. Good, but I'm also cold and tired and my son needs sleep. Then sleep. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. Emily nodded slowly. One night. One night, Ryan agreed. He left them there and walked back to the living room. His hands were shaking. He sat down on the couch and put his head in his hands and tried to process what he'd just done. Brought home 2 strangers. On Christmas. Because a kid had asked him why he looked sad. His therapist was going to have a field day with this. From down the hall, he heard water running. Emily getting Noah ready for bed, probably. The normal sounds of people living in a space. He'd forgotten how much noise that made. The footsteps, the voices, the bathroom door closing. His phone buzzed. His assistant again. He ignored it. Instead, he got up and walked to his daughter's room. Sophia's bedroom was exactly as she'd left it 3 days ago when her grandparents had picked her up. Stuffed animals on the bed, art supplies scattered across her desk, a half-finished jigsaw puzzle on the floor, pictures she'd drawn taped to the walls, horses and rainbows and stick figure families. Ryan sat on the edge of her bed and picked up her favorite stuffed bear. 4 years. 4 years since the accident that had taken his wife and left him a single father who had no idea how to be a parent. 4 years of throwing himself into work because building a company was something he understood and raising a daughter was something he catastrophically didn't. 4 years of watching Sophia grow up while he stood on the sidelines like a spectator in his own life. And now he'd brought home a homeless woman and her son because… Why? Because he was lonely? Because Noah had asked him a simple question and no one else had bothered to notice? Because somewhere deep down, Ryan was so fucking tired of the emptiness that he'd take literally any connection to another human being, even if it came from strangers at a bus stop. You're losing it, Whitmore, he muttered to himself. A soft knock on the door frame made him look up. Emily stood there, still in her jacket. She'd taken off her shoes, but nothing else. Sorry, she said. I didn't mean to interrupt. You're not. Ryan set down the bear. Is Noah okay? Asleep already. Hit the pillow. And he was out. She paused. Is this your daughter's room? Yeah, Sophia. She's 7. Emily's eyes moved over the space, taking in the toys, the drawings, the evidence of a child who was loved and safe and secure. She's lucky, Emily said quietly. She doesn't feel that way, Ryan said before he could stop himself. She thinks I'm a workaholic who doesn't have time for her. Are you? Yes. The honesty surprised even him. Emily's expression softened slightly. At least you admit it, she said. Doesn't make it better. No, but it's something. They stood there in Sophia's bedroom, two strangers who'd known each other for less than 2 hours, and Ryan felt that crack in his chest widen a little more. "Why'd you come looking for me?" he asked. Emily hesitated. "I wanted to say thank you, properly." "I told you not to." "I know what you said." She leaned against the doorframe. "But I'm still going to say it. What you did tonight, inviting us here, most people wouldn't have done that. Most people would have been smarter." "Probably." A ghost of a smile crossed her face. "But we're grateful anyway. Noah, especially. He hasn't slept in a real bed in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Jesus. What happened?" Ryan asked, then immediately regretted it. "Sorry, that's too personal." "It's okay." Emily wrapped her arms around herself. "I lost my job, couldn't make rent, got evicted. The story is not exactly original." "What did you do before you lost the job?" "I was a manager at a restaurant in Hell's Kitchen. Good place. I'd been there 5 years. Her jaw tightened. "Then the owner decided to bring in his nephew to run things. Nephew decided the budget was too big. I was the highest paid manager, so..." "That's legal?" "They found reasons. Made it look like I wasn't performing. It's amazing how many small mistakes suddenly become fireable offenses when someone wants you gone." Ryan felt anger stir in his gut. "Did you fight it? With what? A lawyer I couldn't afford? Against a company with actual resources?" Emily laughed bitterly. "I tried, filed complaints, nothing happened, and meanwhile rent was due." "What about Noah's father?" Emily's expression went flat. "Not in the picture. Never has been." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I'm better off without him." She pushed off from the doorframe. "Anyway, I didn't come here to dump my life story on you. I just wanted to say thank you. So, thank you." She turned to leave. "Emily." She stopped. "Stay," Ryan said. "Not just tonight. A few days. A week. However long you need to figure things out." Emily turned back slowly. "Why would you do that?" "Because..." Ryan stopped, tried to find words for the feeling that had been building since the moment Noah had asked him why he looked sad. "Because I have 5 bedrooms in this place, and I use 1. Because you and Noah need somewhere safe, because it's Christmas, and I'm apparently having some kind of emotional breakdown that's making me do impulsive things." "That's not a reason." "It's the only one I have." Emily stared at him. "You don't know me. I know you love your son. I know you're a fighter. I know you haven't given up even though you have every reason to." Ryan met her eyes. "That's enough." "You're insane." "Probably. I could rob you blind." "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because you're standing here arguing with me instead of already going through my stuff." Emily's mouth twitched again. "Fair point. So stay. Just for a few days. Let Noah sleep in a real bed. Let yourself breathe." "And what do you get out of this?" Ryan thought about the empty penthouse, the silent rooms, the feeling of being alone even when surrounded by people. "Honestly," he said, "I get to feel like less of a failure." Emily's eyes widened slightly. "That's pathetic?" "Yeah, I know. I was going to say honest." They looked at each other. Ryan could see Emily warring with herself, pride versus practicality, suspicion versus desperate need. 3 days, she finally said. "That's it." "Okay. And I'm not some charity case you get to feel good about." "I know. And if you try anything, you'll make me regret being born. I remember." Emily nodded slowly. "Okay then. 3 days." 3 days, Ryan agreed. She left. Ryan stayed in Sophia's room, sitting on his daughter's bed, and wondered what the hell he'd just gotten himself into. Outside, snow continued to fall over Manhattan, and for the first time in 4 years, Ryan Whitmore's penthouse didn't feel quite so empty. Ryan woke up on the couch at 6:30 with a crick in his neck and the vague sense that he'd made a terrible mistake. The penthouse was still dark except for the gray pre-dawn light filtering through the windows. He lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, trying to remember why his back hurt and why he wasn't in his bed. Then he heard footsteps in the hallway. Right. The homeless woman and her kid. He sat up too fast and immediately regretted it when his spine protested. 32 years old and already falling apart. That's what happened when you spent 4 years hunched over a laptop building an empire you didn't actually care about. The footsteps stopped. Ryan turned his head and saw Emily standing at the entrance to the living room, frozen, like she'd been caught doing something wrong. "Sorry," she said quietly. "I was just... Noah wanted water. I didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't." Ryan rubbed his face. "I'm an early riser. At 6:30 on the day after Christmas? Company doesn't stop because it's a holiday." Emily's expression did something complicated. "Right, of course." She started to leave. "Emily." She turned back. "There's coffee," Ryan said, "if you want some. Kitchen's, well, you'd probably found it already." "I didn't want to assume it. It's fine. Help yourself." Emily hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, thanks." Ryan waited until she disappeared around the corner before getting up and stretching. His phone sat on the coffee table, screen lit up with notifications he didn't want to deal with. 23 emails overnight, 6 texts from his assistant, 1 voicemail from his former mother-in-law. He ignored all of it and headed to the bathroom. When he emerged 15 minutes later, showered, dressed in jeans and a sweater that Sophia had picked out 2 Christmases ago, he found Emily sitting at the kitchen island with her hands wrapped around a coffee mug. She'd showered too. Her hair was still damp, pulled back in a ponytail, and she'd changed into clean clothes that Ryan vaguely recognized as coming from the emergency supplies his housekeeper kept stocked in the guest bathrooms. "Hope that's okay," Emily said, catching him looking. "The clothes, there were some in the closet and mine were It's fine," Ryan said. "That's what they're there for." "You keep a stock of women's clothing in your guest room?" "My housekeeper does. She says you never know when someone might need something." Ryan poured himself coffee. Guess she was right. Emily made a non-committal sound. She was staring out the window at Central Park, but Ryan got the sense she wasn't really seeing it. "You okay?" he asked. "Fine." "Emily." She looked at him. "What?" "You're gripping that mug like it might try to escape." Emily glanced down at her white-knuckled hands and deliberately relaxed them. "Sorry, this is weird." "Yeah. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here." "Drink coffee. Relax. Wait for your kid to wake up." "I mean after that." Emily's jaw tightened. "You said 3 days. What happens after 3 days?" Ryan leaned against the counter. "I don't know. What do you want to happen?" "I want to find a job. Get an apartment. Get back on my feet." "Okay." "That's it? Just okay?" "What else am I supposed to say?" Emily set down her mug. "Most people would have conditions, expectations, something. I'm not most people." "No," Emily said slowly. "You're a billionaire who invites homeless strangers into his penthouse, which is somehow weirder." "Fair." They drank their coffee in silence. Outside, the city was starting to wake up. A few early joggers braved the snowy paths in Central Park. Traffic was building on Central Park West. Normal people doing normal things in a normal world that Ryan had somehow stopped being part of years ago. "Can I ask you something?" Emily said. "Sure." "Last night you said your wife died 4 years ago." Ryan's chest tightened. "Yeah. Do you—" Emily stopped, started again. "Do you talk about it? With anyone?" "I have a therapist." "That's not what I asked." Ryan stared into his coffee. "No, I don't talk about it." "Why not?" "Because talking about it doesn't change anything." The words came out harsher than he intended. "She's still gone. I'm still here. Sophia still has to grow up without a mother. Talking doesn't fix any of that." Emily was quiet for a moment. "No," she said finally. "But it might make it hurt less." "Does it work that way for you?" "Does what work?" "Talking. Does it make your situation hurt less?" Emily's laugh was bitter. "I don't talk about my situation. I'm too busy surviving it." "Then maybe we're both doing it wrong." "Maybe." They looked at each other. Ryan felt something shift in the space between them, some kind of recognition. Two people who'd gotten really good at not feeling things because feeling things was too expensive. Her name was Rachel, Ryan heard himself say. "We met in college. Married at 24. Had Sophia when I was 25. He paused. She wanted me to slow down with the company. Said I was missing Sophia's childhood. We fought about it the night she died. Emily's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't interrupt. She was driving to her sister's house. Needed space, she said. I told her she was being dramatic. Ryan's hands were shaking. He set down the mug before he could drop it. Drunk driver ran a red light on Fifth Avenue. Killed her instantly. Ryan. I never apologized, Ryan continued. His voice sounded strange, distant. For the fight. For missing Sophia's school play that week. For choosing a board meeting over family dinner. I never got the chance because I was too busy being right, and she was too busy being dead. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then Emily said quietly, It wasn't your fault. Wasn't it? The drunk driver killed your wife, not you. I sent her out into the night angry. You had a fight. Married people fight. Do they? Ryan looked at her. How would you know? It was a cruel thing to say. He knew it the moment the words left his mouth. But Emily didn't flinch. I don't, she said evenly. Noah's father left before he was born. I've never been married, never even been in love, really. So no, I don't know what it's like to lose someone you built a life with. She paused. But I know what it's like to carry guilt for things you can't control. And I know it doesn't help. Ryan wanted to argue, wanted to defend his right to feel like garbage. But something about the way Emily was looking at him, not with pity, just with understanding, made the fight drain out of him. Sorry, he said. That was shitty. Yeah, it was. I'm not usually like this. Like what? Honest. Emily almost smiled. Maybe you should be. Before Ryan could respond, Noah appeared in the doorway wearing pajamas that were about 3 sizes too big. More emergency supplies from the guest bathroom, apparently. Mom? The kid's voice was sleepy. Where are we? Hey, baby. Emily's entire demeanor changed. The walls came down, the exhaustion disappeared, and she became just a mom greeting her son. Remember last night, Mr. Whitmore's apartment? Noah looked around, blinking. Then his eyes went wide. Oh, yeah. The really tall building. That's right. Are we still here? For a little while longer. Cool. Noah climbed onto the stool next to Emily. I'm hungry. Ryan moved on autopilot. What do you like? Pancakes? Eggs? I think there's cereal somewhere. You have pancakes? Noah's face lit up. I can make pancakes. You can cook? Emily sounded skeptical. It's pancakes, not brain surgery. Still, Ryan pulled out the ingredients, very aware of Emily watching him. The truth was he couldn't really cook. His housekeeper usually handled meals when Sophia was here, but pancakes were hard to screw up. Flour, eggs, milk, mix it together, pour it on a griddle. Even he could manage that, probably. Can I help? Noah asked. Sure. You can be in charge of... Ryan looked around. Chocolate chips. We're putting chocolate chips in pancakes? Why not? Noah looked at his mother for permission. Emily shrugged. It's your kitchen, she said to Ryan. Exactly, and in my kitchen, we put chocolate chips in pancakes. Noah grinned. It was the first genuine smile Ryan had seen from the kid, and it did something weird to his chest. The pancakes turned out better than expected. They ate at the island, Ryan, Emily, and Noah, and it felt bizarrely normal, like they were a family having breakfast together instead of 3 strangers who'd met 12 hours ago at a bus stop. These are really good, Noah said through a mouthful of pancake. Don't talk with your mouth full, Emily said automatically. Sorry, Ryan watched them. The easy way Emily corrected Noah. The way Noah immediately responded without resentment. The casual intimacy of a mother and son who only had each other. Something twisted in his gut. Sophia never listened when he corrected her. She'd just roll her eyes and go back to whatever she was doing, and Ryan would feel like he'd failed some kind of parenting test he didn't know he was taking. You're staring, Emily said quietly. Ryan blinked. Sorry. What's wrong? Nothing. Just, you're good with him? He's my son. I've had practice. Still, Ryan pushed his pancakes around his plate. I don't know how you do it. The single parent thing. You're a single parent. Barely. Sophia's grandparents do most of the actual parenting. Emily frowned. That's not true. It is. Ryan set down his fork. I work 80 hours a week. I miss school events. I forget to sign permission slips. Her grandparents take her half the time because I can't handle being an actual father. Ryan, it's fine, Achiem. I'm not looking for sympathy, just stating facts. Noah had finished his pancakes and wandered over to the windows to look at the park. Emily watched him go, then turned back to Ryan. Can I tell you something? She said. Sure. You're being too hard on yourself. Ryan laughed. Am I? Yes. You lost your wife. You're raising a daughter alone. You built a company from nothing. That's not failing. That's surviving. There's a difference between surviving and living. I know. Emily's voice was soft. But surviving is the first step. They looked at each other. Ryan felt that crack in his chest widen a little more. How do you do it? He asked. Stay positive when everything's falling apart? I don't. Emily glanced at Noah. Most days I want to scream or cry or both. But Noah's watching. So I pretend I have my shit together and hope he doesn't notice that I'm faking it. Does it work? Sometimes. Ryan followed her gaze to Noah, who was pressing his face against the window and making fog patterns with his breath. He's a good kid, Ryan said. Yeah. Emily's voice was thick. He is. Must be hard doing it alone. It's the only way I know how. Before Ryan could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and saw his assistant's name. I should take this, he said. Emily nodded. We'll clean up. You don't have to... Go. Answer your phone. Ryan stepped into his office and closed the door. Sarah. Finally, his assistant sounded exasperated. Do you know how many times I've called? I've been busy. On the day after Christmas? What do you need? Sarah sighed. The Singapore deal is moving faster than expected. They want to meet next week. I need you to review the contracts. And are you even listening? Ryan was staring out his office window at the city below. Yeah, Singapore. Contracts. Got it. Ryan, what's going on? Nothing. You left the Christmas party without telling anyone. You're not answering emails. And now you sound, I don't know, distracted. I'm fine. Are you? Ryan thought about Emily and Noah in his kitchen, about the way the penthouse had felt less empty this morning, about the fact that he'd told a complete stranger more about Rachel in 10 minutes than he'd told his therapist in 4 years. I don't know, he said honestly. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Do you need me to reschedule Singapore? No, I'll handle it. Ryan, send me the contracts. I'll review them today. It's the day after Christmas. So you keep saying, another pause. Okay, I'll send them over. But Ryan? Yeah? Whatever you're doing, whoever you're with, just be careful. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're a billionaire CEO who just disappeared on Christmas night. If this is about a woman, you need to think about optics. Ryan's jaw tightened. It's not like that. Then what is it like? None of your business. It's my business if it affects the company. It doesn't. Ryan. Send me the contracts, Sarah. I'll talk to you tomorrow. He hung up before she could argue. When he came back out, Emily was loading the dishwasher while Noah sat at the island coloring on a piece of paper he'd found somewhere. Everything okay? Emily asked. Fine. Just work stuff. On the day after Christmas? Ryan smiled despite himself. You sound like my assistant. Smart woman. Sometimes too smart. Emily closed the dishwasher and leaned against the counter. Can I ask you something? You keep asking permission. Just ask. Do you ever stop working? Not really. Why not? Ryan looked at Noah, then back at Emily. Because work makes sense. It has rules, metrics, clear goals. Life doesn't. That's depressing. It's realistic. Same thing. Ryan wanted to argue, but couldn't, because she was right. Somewhere along the way, he'd started choosing work over life because work was easier. Work didn't ask questions he couldn't answer. Work didn't make him feel like a failure every time he looked at his daughter. You ever think about changing? Emily asked. Every day. But you don't. Would you? If you were me? Emily considered this. I don't know. I've never had the luxury of choosing work over life. I've always had to choose survival. And now? Now I'm standing in a billionaire's kitchen wondering when the other shoe is going to drop. What if it doesn't? It always does. There was something bleak in her voice that made Ryan's chest hurt. He wanted to argue, to promise that things would work out. But he'd learned the hard way that promises didn't mean anything when the universe decided to take everything away. Mom? Noah looked up from his coloring. Can we go outside? Baby, it's cold. But there's snow and a park, please? Emily glanced at Ryan. Is that okay? It's a public park. You don't need my permission. I mean, Emily gestured vaguely. We don't have winter clothes. Not real ones. Ryan thought of the closet in Sophia's room. Wait here. He came back 5 minutes later with one of Sophia's old winter coats and a pair of boots that she'd outgrown last year. They were probably too big for Noah, but they'd work. Here, he said, handing them to Emily. She stared at the coat. I can't take your daughter's clothes. She doesn't wear them anymore. They're just sitting in a closet. Still, Emily, let the kid play in the snow. Emily's jaw worked. Then she took the coat. Thank you. Don't mention it. Noah tried on the boots. They were indeed too big, but he didn't seem to care. He stomped around the kitchen grinning like Ryan had just given him a present. Can you come too? Noah asked Ryan. I have work. Please? Ryan looked at the kid's hopeful face, thought about the contracts waiting in his inbox, the Singapore deal, the 100 other things he should be doing. Okay, he heard himself say. Let me grab a coat. 20 minutes later, they were walking through Central Park. The snow from last night had turned everything white and clean, and the park was full of families building snowmen and kids sledding down the hills. Noah ran ahead, stopping every few feet to examine something. A snow-covered bench, a frozen fountain, a dog wearing a ridiculous sweater. He's going to crash hard later, Emily said, watching him. Yeah. Thank you for this. Stop thanking me. I can't help it. You keep doing things that deserve thanks. Ryan shoved his hands in his pockets. I'm just walking through a park. You know it's more than that. They walked in silence for a while. Noah circled back to show Emily a pine cone he'd found, then ran off again. Can I ask you something? Ryan said. Sure. What happened with Noah's father? Emily's expression closed off. I told you, he's not in the picture. I know, but what? I'm just curious. Why? Because Ryan stopped, tried to figure out how to say it without sounding like an asshole. Because you're clearly a good mother, and Noah's a great kid, and I'm wondering what kind of idiot would walk away from that. Emily was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was carefully neutral. His name was Marcus, she said. We met when I was 23. I was working at a bar. She laughed bitterly. He was charming, good-looking, said all the right things. I thought I was in love. What happened? I got pregnant, he got scared, said he wasn't ready to be a father. I said that's fine, I'd do it alone. He said great, and I never saw him again. Ryan felt anger building in his chest. Did he ever try to contact me? No. Pay child support? No. Meet his son? No. Emily's jaw was tight. And honestly, I'm glad. Because Noah deserves better than a father who didn't want him. Still, that's shitty? Yeah. But it's also life. Emily looked at him. Not everyone gets a happy ending, Ryan. Some of us just get through the day and call it a win. Ryan thought about Rachel, about the fights and the guilt, and the 4 years of wondering what would have happened if he'd just apologized, if he'd chosen family over work, if he'd been a better husband. I get that, he said quietly. Yeah, Emily smiled sadly. I think you do. Noah came running back, face red from the cold, eyes bright with excitement. There's a sledding hill, he said. Can we go, please? Emily looked at Ryan. We don't have a sled. There's a rental stand near the Bethesda fountain, Ryan said. We could... Ryan, you've already done too much. It's a sled, not a car. That's not the point. Then what is the point? Emily's eyes flashed. The point is that you don't owe us anything. You gave us a place to sleep. You fed us. You're letting Noah play in the park. That's already more than most people would do. I'm not going to keep taking from you. What if I want to give? Why? Because... Ryan stopped. looked at Noah, who was watching them with worried eyes, then back at Emily. Because it's been 4 years since I did something that felt like it mattered. And this, you and Noah being here, this feels like it matters. Emily's expression softened. Ryan, I'm not asking you to owe me anything, Ryan said. I'm not expecting anything in return. I want to rent a sled for a kid on the day after Christmas. Is that okay? Emily stared at him. Then she shook her head slowly. You're really bad at boundaries, you know that? Yeah, I'm aware. And you're going to regret this, probably. And I still don't trust you. Good. Emily's mouth twitched. Fine. Rent the sled. Noah cheered. They spent the next 2 hours at the sledding hill. Ryan hadn't been sledding since he was a kid himself, and he'd forgotten how simple it was. Climb the hill, sit on the sled, go down, repeat. Noah loved it. He went down the hill at least 20 times, sometimes alone, sometimes with Emily, once with Ryan when Emily insisted on taking a picture with Ryan's phone. For Sophia, she said when Ryan protested. So she knows you did something fun. Ryan looked at the photo later. Him and Noah on the sled, both of them mid-laugh, snow flying everywhere. He couldn't remember the last time he'd looked that happy in a picture. By the time they headed back to the penthouse, Noah was exhausted. He fell asleep in Ryan's arms halfway through Central Park, and Emily had to carry the sled. Sorry, she said. He gets like this after he burns through all his energy. It's fine. They walked in silence, Ryan carrying the sleeping kid, Emily walking beside him. The sun was starting to set, turning the snow pink and gold. This was nice, Emily said quietly. Yeah, I can't remember the last time Noah had this much fun. Me neither. Ryan looked down at the kid in his arms. I can't remember the last time I had this much fun. Emily glanced at him. That's really sad, Ryan. I know. When they got back to the penthouse, Emily took Noah and put him down for a nap. Ryan went to his office to review the Singapore contracts, but he couldn't focus. The numbers and legal language blurred together. All he could think about was Emily's voice saying, "Not everyone gets a happy ending. Some of us just get through the day and call it a win." His phone buzzed, a text from his former mother-in-law. "We're bringing Sophia back tomorrow around noon. She had a wonderful time." Ryan stared at the message. Tomorrow. Which meant Emily and Noah would meet his daughter. Which meant things would get complicated. Which meant he should probably tell Emily that Sophia was coming home. He found her in the living room, staring out the windows at the city. "Hey," he said. She turned. "Hey." Noah asleep? Out cold. Good. They stood there awkwardly. Ryan tried to figure out how to say what he needed to say without making it weird. "So," he started, "my daughter's coming home tomorrow." Emily's eyes widened. "Oh, yeah, around noon. Should we—" Emily gestured vaguely. "Should Noah and I be gone by then?" "No, I mean, unless you want to be, but you don't have to." "Ryan, I told you 3 days. It's only been 1. "I know, but—" Emily wrapped her arms around herself. "This is going to be weird for your daughter, a strange woman and kid in her house." "Maybe, but Sophia's pretty adaptable." "That's not the point." "Then what is?" Emily looked at him. "The point is that you're already doing too much. And now you're going to drag your daughter into this mess, and that's not fair to her." "What if it's what she needs?" "What?" "Sophia." Ryan ran a hand through his hair. "She thinks I'm a robot who only cares about work. Maybe seeing me help someone for once will show her I'm not completely heartless." "You're not heartless." "She doesn't know that." Emily was quiet for a moment. "This is a bad idea." "Probably. Your daughter might hate me." "She won't." "You don't know that." "No," Ryan admitted, "but I'm willing to risk it if you are." Emily studied his face. "Why are you doing this?" "I already told you." "No, really. Why?" Ryan thought about the bus stop, about Noah asking why he looked sad, about the feeling of Emily sitting across from him in the kitchen talking about guilt and survival and getting through the day. "Because for the first time in 4 years," he said slowly, "I feel like I'm actually living instead of just existing, and I'm not ready to give that up yet." Emily's eyes went bright. She looked away quickly. Okay, she said. We'll stay until Sophia comes home. Then we'll see. Okay? But Ryan. Yeah? Don't do this if you're just going to change your mind. Noah's already attached to you. If you bail on us, I won't. You say that now. Emily. Ryan waited until she looked at him. I won't bail. I promise. She searched his face. Okay, she said finally. I believe you? Ryan wasn't sure he believed himself, but he nodded anyway. That night, after Noah woke up and they had dinner, take out Chinese food because Ryan didn't trust his cooking skills beyond pancakes, Ryan lay on the couch and stared at the ceiling. From down the hall, he could hear Emily reading to Noah, some story about dragons and knights that made Noah giggle. His phone buzzed. Sarah again, asking about the contracts. Ryan turned it off and listened to Emily's voice carrying through the penthouse. Tomorrow, Sophia would come home. Tomorrow, things would get complicated. Tomorrow, he'd probably realize what a massive mistake he'd made. But tonight, for the first time in 4 years, Ryan Whitmore's penthouse sounded like a home. And that was enough. Sophia arrived at 11:45 the next morning with her grandparents, a duffel bag full of presents, and an attitude that could cut glass. Ryan heard the elevator before he saw them. He'd been pacing the living room for the past 20 minutes, rehearsing different ways to explain why there were strangers in the apartment. Emily sat on the couch, watching him with barely concealed amusement, while Noah played with a set of building blocks Ryan had found in the back of Sophia's closet. You're going to wear a hole in the floor, Emily said. I'm fine. You're panicking. I'm not. Ryan stopped pacing. Okay, maybe a little. It's going to be fine. You don't know that. No, but one of us has to be optimistic, and you're clearly not volunteering. Before Ryan could respond, the elevator doors opened and Sophia burst through like a small tornado. Dad! She ran straight to him and Ryan caught her in a hug, breathing in the smell of her shampoo and feeling something in his chest unclench. 7 years old and already too smart for her own good, with Rachel's eyes and his stubborn chin and an opinion about everything. Hey, sweetheart, did you have fun? Grandma let me stay up until 10 and we made cookies and I got a new art set and… Sophia stopped mid-sentence, her eyes landing on Emily and Noah. Who are they? Ryan's former in-laws appeared behind Sophia. Margaret and Robert Chen, both in their early 60s, both looking at Emily with identical expressions of polite confusion. Ryan, Margaret said carefully, we didn't realize you had company. Last-minute thing, Ryan said, which was technically true. Margaret, Robert, this is Emily Carter and her son Noah. They're staying with us for a few days. The silence that followed was excruciating. Margaret's smile didn't waver, but her eyes went sharp. Robert just looked uncomfortable. Sophia stared at Emily like she was trying to solve a complicated math problem. How lovely, Margaret said in a tone that suggested it was anything but. We didn't mean to interrupt. You're not interrupting, Ryan said quickly. I was just about to make lunch. Do you want to stay? Oh, we couldn't possibly. We'd love to, Robert interrupted, shooting his wife a look. Margaret's lips thinned, but she nodded. Of course. That would be nice. Emily stood up, and Ryan noticed she'd gone very still. The easy confidence from earlier had disappeared, replaced by something guarded. I'm Emily, she said, extending her hand. It's nice to meet you. Margaret shook her hand with the kind of grip that lasted exactly 1 second too short to be friendly. Margaret Chen. This is my husband, Robert. We're Sophia's grandparents. Ryan mentioned. Emily's smile was polite and completely fake. You have a beautiful granddaughter. Thank you. We think so. Margaret's attention shifted to Noah. And this is your son? Noah, he's 6. How nice. Margaret said it like she was commenting on the weather. Sophia, darling, why don't you show me what you got for Christmas? Sophia looked torn between curiosity about the strangers and the desire to show off her presents. Presents 1. Okay, come see. She grabbed her grandmother's hand and dragged her toward the hallway. Robert followed, but not before giving Ryan a look that clearly said, we'll talk about this later. The moment they were gone, Emily turned to Ryan. Well, she said quietly, that went great. She's just protective. She thinks I'm a gold digger. She doesn't even know you. She knows enough. Emily wrapped her arms around herself. Strange woman shows up in your penthouse with her kid right after Christmas? Yeah, I'd be suspicious too. Emily, it's fine. I get it. She glanced at Noah, who was still absorbed in his blocks. Maybe we should go, before this gets more awkward. No. Ryan, I asked you to stay. I meant it. Ryan lowered his voice. Don't let Margaret scare you off. She's protective, but she's not. She doesn't get to decide who's welcome in my home. Emily studied his face. You sure about that? Positive. Because this feels like it's going to blow up in both our faces. Probably. But let's at least wait until after lunch. Despite everything, Emily smiled. You're insane. Yeah, I'm getting that a lot lately. Lunch was tense. Ryan ordered Italian from a place down the street, safer than trying to cook for 6 people, and they sat around the dining table making stilted conversation while Sophia peppered Emily with questions. Where do you live? We're between places right now, Emily said carefully. What does that mean? Sophia, Ryan said, don't be rude. I'm not being rude, I'm being curious. It means we're staying here for a few days, Emily said. Your dad was kind enough to let us. Sophia frowned. Why? Because we needed help. With what? Sophia, Margaret said sharply. That's enough. But I want to know, just drop it. Sophia's face fell. She looked at Ryan, clearly hoping he'd override her grandmother, but Ryan was too busy trying to figure out how to navigate this without making everything worse. It's okay, Emily said quietly. She's just asking questions. She's being nosy, Margaret said. She's 7. 7-year-olds are supposed to be nosy. Margaret's expression went cold. I know how old my granddaughter is. I didn't mean... Perhaps we should change the subject, Robert suggested diplomatically. The rest of lunch was painful. Margaret made pointed comments about the importance of stability for children. Robert tried to smooth things over by asking Emily polite questions about her work history. Sophia kept shooting curious glances at Noah, who ate his pasta in silence and looked like he wanted to disappear. Ryan wanted to scream. Finally, after what felt like hours, Margaret announced they should leave. We have dinner plans, she said, standing. But Ryan, could I speak with you for a moment? Privately? It wasn't a question. Ryan followed her to his office and closed the door. What the hell is going on? Margaret asked the moment they were alone. I told you. Emily and Noah needed a place to stay. For how long? I don't know, a few days. And then what? Then we'll figure it out. Margaret crossed her arms. Who is she, Ryan? I told you. I mean, really. Who is she? Where did you meet her? What do you actually know about this woman? Ryan felt his jaw tighten. She's someone who needed help. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Margaret's eyes narrowed. Are you sleeping with her? What? No. Then why? Because I wanted to help. Is that so hard to believe? Frankly, yes. Margaret's voice softened slightly. Ryan, I know you've been lonely. I know losing Rachel was... I can't even imagine. But bringing strangers into your home, into Sophia's life, without knowing anything about them, I know enough. Do you? Do you know her last name, where she's from, why she's homeless? She's not... Ryan stopped, took a breath. She lost her job, got evicted. She's trying to get back on her feet. And you believe her? Yes? Why? Because... Ryan struggled to find words. Because I can see it. In the way she is with Noah. In the way she talks about her life. She's not lying. People lie all the time, Ryan, especially to billionaires. She's not like that. You've known her for 2 days. I know. Margaret studied him. You care about her. It wasn't a question. Ryan opened his mouth to deny it, then stopped. Did he care about Emily? He thought about the bus stop, the conversation in the kitchen, the way she'd looked at him when he talked about Rachel, the sledding hill, the sound of her reading to Noah through the walls of the penthouse. I don't know, he said honestly. Maybe. Margaret closed her eyes. Oh, Ryan. It's not what you think. Then what is it? It's... Ryan ran a hand through his hair. She makes me feel less alone. Her and Noah. For the first time in 4 years, this apartment doesn't feel like a mausoleum. And what happens when they leave? When reality sets in and you realize you've built your hope around strangers? I'll deal with it. Will you? Or will you fall apart like you did after Rachel? The words hit like a slap. Ryan stared at his former mother-in-law. That's not fair, he said quietly. Isn't it? Ryan, I love you. You're the father of my granddaughter, and you always will be. But you have a pattern. When things get hard, you run. You threw yourself into work after Rachel died. You pushed Sophia away when she needs you. And now you're bringing strangers into your home because it's easier than dealing with your actual problems. That's not what this is. Then what is it? Ryan didn't have an answer. Margaret sighed. I'm not saying Emily is a bad person. I'm saying you need to be careful. For your sake and for Sophia's. Don't rush into something just because it feels good right now. I'm not rushing into anything. Aren't you? You invited them to stay indefinitely. You're involving Sophia. What happens next, Ryan? Do they move in permanently? Does Emily become part of your life, part of Sophia's life? Have you thought any of this through? No, Ryan admitted. I haven't. I'm trying to do something good for once instead of being a robot. Margaret's expression softened. You're not a robot. You're a grieving widower who's doing his best, but that doesn't mean you have to save everyone who crosses your path. What if I'm not trying to save them? What if they're saving me? Margaret was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and squeezed his shoulder. Just be careful, she said. Please. When Ryan came back out, he found Sophia and Noah on the floor building something elaborate with the blocks. Emily stood by the windows talking quietly with Robert. Everything okay? Emily asked when she saw him. Fine. She didn't look convinced. Margaret and Robert left shortly after, with promises to call later and meaningful looks that Ryan pretended not to notice. The moment the elevator doors closed, Sophia turned to Ryan. Grandma doesn't like Emily, she announced. Sophia, it's true, I could tell. Your grandmother doesn't know Emily yet. She was just surprised. She thinks Emily's going to steal you. Ryan blinked. What? That's what she whispered to Grandpa, that Emily's probably after your money. Sophia, you shouldn't eavesdrop. Is she? Is she what? After your money. Ryan looked at Emily, who had gone very pale. No, he said firmly. She's not. Then why is she here? Because I invited her. Why? Because Ryan struggled to find an answer a 7-year-old would understand. Because sometimes people need help. And we have the space. So why not help? Sophia considered this. Then she looked at Emily. Are you poor? She asked bluntly. Sophia. Ryan's voice was sharp. It's okay, Emily said quietly. She crouched down to Sophia's level. Yeah, I am. Your dad's right. We needed help. And he offered. That's it. And you're not going to steal stuff? Sophia. No, Emily said. I'm not going to steal anything. And you're not going to try to marry my dad? Emily's eyes widened. No, definitely not. Okay, Sophia straightened. Then you can stay. The casual declaration made Ryan want to laugh and cry at the same time. Well, he said, I'm glad that's settled. Sophia turned to Noah. Do you want to see my room? I have a lot of art supplies. Noah looked at his mother for permission. Emily nodded. Sure, Noah said quietly. The two kids disappeared down the hallway. Ryan and Emily stood in the living room, both of them trying to process what had just happened. Your daughter is intense, Emily said finally. Yeah, she gets that from her mother. And your mother-in-law hates me. She doesn't hate you, she's just protective. Ryan, she literally told her husband I'm a gold digger. Sophia shouldn't have repeated that. But it's true, isn't it? That's what Margaret thinks. Ryan couldn't deny it. Give her time, she'll come around. Will she? Because from where I'm standing, this looks like a disaster waiting to happen. Emily wrapped her arms around herself. Maybe we should go, before this gets worse. It's not going to get worse. You don't know that. Neither do you. Emily looked at him. Your family already doesn't trust me. Your daughter is interrogating me about my intentions. How is this sustainable? I don't know, Ryan admitted. But I don't want you to leave. Why not? Because... Ryan stopped, tried to find the right words. Because Sophia just laughed more in the last 10 minutes with Noah than she has in months with me. Because the apartment feels alive with you here. Because I'm tired of being alone. Emily's eyes went bright. Ryan, I know it's selfish. I know I'm probably making this harder for you, but I'm asking you to stay anyway, at least for a few more days, please. Emily looked toward the hallway where they could hear Sophia and Noah talking. This is a mistake, she said softly. Probably. We're going to screw this up. Maybe. And your mother-in-law is going to make my life hell. Almost definitely. Emily laughed despite herself. You're really bad at convincing people. Yeah, I'm aware. She studied his face for a long moment. Then she sighed. Okay, a few more days, but Ryan? Yeah. If this goes sideways, if Sophia gets hurt, or your family turns this into a nightmare, we're gone. No arguments. Deal. They shook on it, which felt absurdly formal given everything, but also somehow right. The next few days developed a rhythm. Ryan went to work in the mornings, reviewing contracts and taking calls while Emily helped Noah with a workbook she'd bought at a bookstore down the street. Sophia went back to school after the holiday break, coming home full of stories about her friends and complaints about her teacher. In the evenings, they ate dinner together. Sometimes Ryan cooked, badly. Sometimes Emily cooked, much better. Sometimes they ordered takeout and ate on the floor while Sophia and Noah watched movies. It was chaotic and messy, and nothing like the ordered silence Ryan had lived in for 4 years. It was also the happiest he'd been in longer than he could remember. On the third night, after the kids were in bed, Ryan found Emily in the kitchen cleaning up from dinner. You don't have to do that, he said. I know, but I want to help. Emily, you're a guest. I'm a freeloader living in your penthouse and eating your food. The least I can do is wash some dishes. Ryan grabbed a towel and started drying. They worked in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Sophia's warming up to you, Ryan said. Yeah, she's a good kid. She asked me today if you were going to be her new mom. Emily nearly dropped the plate she was washing. What did you tell her? That we're friends, that you're helping each other out. And she bought that? Not even a little. Ryan smiled. She said friends don't look at each other the way we do. Emily's hand stilled in the soapy water. The way we do. Her words, not mine. And how do we look at each other? Ryan thought about it, about the way Emily's face changed when she smiled, about the sound of her laugh, about the feeling he got when he walked into a room and saw her there. Like we're figuring something out, he said quietly. Emily turned to look at him. What are we figuring out? I don't know, but I want to find out. The air between them shifted. Emily's eyes searched his face. Ryan, I know. Too fast. Too complicated. Bad idea. All of those things. But, Emily smiled, but I want to find out too. They stood there in the kitchen, the city glittering outside the windows, and Ryan felt that crack in his chest split wide open. This is going to be a disaster, Emily said. Probably. Your mother-in-law is going to kill me. She might. And we barely know each other. True. But, Ryan stepped closer, but I haven't felt this alive in 4 years, and I'm tired of being safe. Emily's breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying I like you. I like having you here. I like the way Noah asks me about my day and the way Sophia acts less angry when you're around and the way you don't take any of my bullshit. Ryan, I'm not asking for anything, Ryan said quickly. I'm being honest for once. Emily stared at him. Then slowly, she smiled. You're an idiot, she said. Yeah, I know. And this is a terrible idea. Yep. But I like you too. Ryan felt something in his chest soar. Yeah? Yeah. Even though you can't cook and you work too much and you're emotionally constipated. Wow. Really selling it. Emily laughed. I'm just being honest. For once. They grinned at each other like idiots. Then Emily's expression turned serious. We should be careful, she said, for the kids' sake. I know. And we need to take this slow. Okay? And if your mother-in-law shows up with a shotgun, I'm hiding behind you. Fair. Emily reached out and took his hand. It was such a simple gesture, but it felt monumental. So what now? She asked. Ryan looked at their joined hands. Now we figure it out, together. Together, Emily repeated. I like the sound of that. They stood in the kitchen holding hands while the dishwater went cold and the city hummed outside, and somewhere down the hall their kids slept peacefully. And for the first time in 4 years, Ryan Whitmore looked at the future and felt something other than dread. He felt hope. Over the next week, things shifted. Emily started job hunting in earnest, sending out resumes and scheduling interviews. Ryan used his connections shamelessly, calling in favors and making introductions. He told himself he was just helping a friend, but the truth was more complicated. He wanted her to stay, not just in the penthouse, but in his life. Sophia and Noah became inseparable. They built elaborate forts in the living room, created entire art galleries on the walls, and had loud arguments about which superhero was best that ended with them both laughing. Watching them, Ryan realized what Sophia had been missing. Not a mother, Margaret had tried to fill that role, but a peer. Someone her own age who got her. They're good together, Emily said one evening, watching the kids play. Yeah, they are. Noah's never had a friend like Sophia, someone who just accepts him. Sophia's never had that either. Emily glanced at him. She has friends at school. She has classmates. It's not the same. They watched in silence as Sophia showed Noah how to do a cartwheel. He tried and fell over. She laughed and helped him up. We're going to screw this up, Emily said quietly. What do you mean? The kids. They're attached. What happens when we leave? You don't have to leave. Ryan and... I'm serious. Stay. Not just for a few more days. Stay. Emily turned to look at him. For how long? I don't know. As long as you want. That's not... You can't just... Emily stopped, took a breath. This isn't sustainable. Me and Noah living here like permanent guests. Eventually, you're going to want your space back. What if I don't? You will. Trust me. I've been on the receiving end of charity before. It always has an expiration date. This isn't charity. Then what is it? Ryan looked at her, at the way the evening light caught in her hair, at the defensive set of her shoulders, at the fear in her eyes. It's me asking you to take a chance, he said, on whatever this is between us. Emily's eyes widened. Ryan, I know it's fast, I know it's crazy, but I like you, Emily. I like coming home and finding you here. I like the way you call me out when I'm being an asshole. I like watching you with Noah. I like... Stop. Ryan stopped. Emily was staring at him with an expression he couldn't read. You're scared, she said finally. What? You're scared of being alone again, so you're latching on to the first person who showed up and made you feel something. The words stung because they might have been true. Ryan wanted to argue, to defend himself, but Emily wasn't done. And I'm scared too, she continued, because I'm starting to care about you. And that terrifies me. Because caring about people means trusting them. And every time I've trusted someone, they've left. I'm not going to leave. You say that now. Emily, I'm not going anywhere. You don't know that. Life happens. People change their minds. And then what? Noah and I are homeless again, and he's lost another person who mattered to him? Ryan understood then. This wasn't about him. It was about every person who'd ever let Emily down. Noah's father, her former employer, every friend who'd disappeared when times got tough. I can't promise nothing will go wrong, Ryan said carefully. I can't promise we won't screw this up, but I can promise I won't leave, not unless you tell me to. Emily's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Why should I believe you? Because I'm tired of lying to myself about what I want. And what I want is this, you and Noah and Sophia and me, a family. The word hung between them, family. Emily laughed, but it sounded choked. We barely know each other, so we'll learn. It's not that simple. Why not? Because, Emily's voice cracked, because I'm falling for you, Ryan, and that's terrifying because I have no idea if you actually care about me or if I'm just convenient. Ryan closed the distance between them, reached out and took her hands. You're not convenient, he said. You're complicated and stubborn, and you make me work for every conversation, but you also make me laugh. You make me want to be better. You make this apartment feel like a home instead of a tomb. Emily was crying now, silently, tears running down her face. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too. What if we mess this up?" "Then we'll figure it out, together." Emily searched his face. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Okay," she said. "Okay. We'll try." Ryan pulled her into a hug. She came willingly, burying her face in his shoulder. From the living room, Sophia called out, "Are you guys being mushy?" Emily laughed against Ryan's shirt. "No," she called back. "Liar! I can see you." Ryan looked over and saw both kids peering around the corner, grinning. "Go back to your fort," he said. "Are you kissing?" Sophia asked. "No." "Are you going to?" "Sophia, because Noah said you should. He says his mom looks happier when you're around." Emily pulled back, wiping her eyes. "Noah said that?" The little boy nodded solemnly. "You smile more." Emily's expression crumpled. She looked at Ryan, then back at the kids. "Okay," she said. "New rule. No more spying on adults." "But it's fun," Sophia protested. "Too bad. Go finish your fort." The kids disappeared, giggling. Emily shook her head. "We're never going to have privacy," she said. "Probably not. And your mother-in-law is going to have a heart attack when she finds out about this." "Almost definitely. And we're still going to screw this up somehow. Maybe, but at least we'll screw it up together." Emily smiled. It was watery and uncertain, but it was real. "Together," she repeated. "I could get used to that." Ryan kissed her forehead. It was chaste and brief, but it felt like a promise. In the living room, Sophia and Noah cheered. "They're definitely spying," Emily said. "Yeah, they are." "Should we say something?" "Probably." But neither of them moved. They stood in the kitchen holding each other while their kids giggled and the city sparkled outside, and something new and fragile began to take root between them. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even close to perfect. But it was real, and that was enough. 2 weeks later, Emily got a job offer. She came home from the interview flushed and breathless, finding Ryan in his office on a conference call about the Singapore expansion. He took one look at her face through the glass door and held up a finger. 1 minute. She nodded and disappeared. He wrapped up the call in 30 seconds, ignoring his CFO's protests about quarterly projections. "Emily?" She was in the kitchen pouring herself water with shaking hands. "I got it," she said. "The position at Crawford Media, client relations manager. They offered me the job." Ryan felt something complicated twist in his chest. "That's great. 58,000 a year, health insurance, 2 weeks vacation." Emily laughed, but it sounded brittle. "It's not much compared to what I was making before, but it's amazing. Emily, that's amazing." She set down the glass. "They want me to start Monday." "Okay. Which means I need to find an apartment, childcare for Noah, get him enrolled in school." Her voice was rising. "I need to figure out transportation and, Christ, I don't even have professional clothes anymore. Everything's in storage or sold or—" "Emily, breathe." She stopped, took a breath, then another. "Sorry," she said. It's been a long time since anything good happened, and I don't know how to psh." Ryan crossed the kitchen and pulled her into a hug. She came willingly, her face pressed against his shoulder. "You did this," he said quietly. "You went to the interviews. You sold yourself. This is all you. You got me the interview. I made a phone call. You did everything else." Emily pulled back enough to look at him. "Thank you for the call, for everything." "Don't thank me yet. You haven't heard my counteroffer." "What counteroffer?" Ryan took a breath. He'd been thinking about this for days, running through different scenarios, trying to figure out the right way to say it. "Stay here," he said. "You and Noah. Don't look for an apartment." Emily went very still. "Ryan, hear me out. You'd have your own space, your own room, complete independence. You could come and go as you please. No strings, no expectations. Just stay." "That's insane. Why?" "Because I can't live here forever." "Why not?" Emily stared at him. "Because that's not how this works. You helped me get back on my feet. Now I go get my own place and I don't know, we figure out what we are from a distance. What if I don't want distance? Ryan, what if I want you here every day? You and Noah and Sophia and me." Emily's eyes were bright. "You're talking about us living together like a..." Like a family. Yeah. We've known each other for 2 weeks. I know. That's crazy. I know that too. Emily pulled away, wrapping her arms around herself. What about Sophia? Have you even asked her how she feels about this? She told me yesterday that if you and Noah leave, she's running away to live with you. Despite everything, Emily smiled. She did not. She absolutely did. Direct quote, "If Emily goes, I'm going with her because at least she lets me stay up past 9. I do not let her stay up past 9. You let her stay up until 9:30 on Friday. That was one time. She's got you wrapped around her finger." Emily's smile faded. "This is a bad idea, Ryan." "Probably. Your mother-in-law will lose her mind. She's been losing her mind for 2 weeks already. What's one more reason?" "I'm being serious. So am I." Ryan stepped closer. "Emily, I know this is fast. I know it's weird. But the past 2 weeks they've been the best 2 weeks I've had in 4 years. And I don't want that to end just because you got a job." "It's not about the job. It's about—" Emily stopped, started again. "I need to be able to support myself, to know I can take care of Noah without depending on anyone." "I get that. And you will. You have a job now. Income, independence. I'm not asking you to depend on me. I'm asking you to live with me because I want you here, not because you need to be here." Emily's jaw worked. What if this doesn't work out? Then we'll figure it out. What if we fight? What if we realize we're making a huge mistake? Then we'll deal with it, like adults. What if the kids get hurt? Ryan didn't have an answer for that one, because she was right. If this fell apart, Sophia and Noah would both pay the price. "I can't promise we won't screw this up," he said quietly, "but I can promise I'll try not to, and I think what we have is worth the risk." Emily looked at him for a long moment. "You really want this?" "Yeah, I do. Even though it's complicated and messy and probably a disaster waiting to happen?" "Especially because of that." Emily laughed, but her eyes were wet. "You're an idiot." "So you keep saying, and this is a terrible idea." "Yep, but—" She stopped, took a shaky breath. "But I want it too." Ryan felt something in his chest expand. "Yeah? Yeah. Even though you're emotionally stunted and you work too much and you can't cook for shit." "Wow, really laying it on thick today." "I'm just being honest." "I know. It's one of the things I love about you." The word slipped out before Ryan could stop it. "Love." Emily's eyes went wide. "What?" Ryan's brain scrambled to catch up with his mouth. "I meant, that was— Did you just say love?" "It was a figure of speech." "Ryan." He looked at her, at the shock and fear and hope all tangled together on her face. "Okay," he said, "maybe it wasn't a figure of speech. We've known each other for 2 weeks. I'm aware. You can't love someone after 2 weeks. Why not?" "Because that's not how it works." "Says who?" Emily made a frustrated sound. "Says everyone. Says common sense. Says says people who haven't spent 4 years being completely numb and then suddenly felt something real for the first time." Ryan stepped closer. "I'm not saying I have it all figured out. I'm not even saying I know what this is. But I know I feel something when I look at you. Something I haven't felt in a long time. And if that's not love, it's close enough that I'm willing to call it that." Emily was crying now, silent tears running down her face. "You're insane," she whispered. "Probably. And you're going to break my heart. I'm going to try really hard not to." "That's not a promise. It's the best I can do." Emily stared at him. Then, slowly, she smiled through her tears. "I think I love you too," she said, "which is terrifying because I don't even know your middle name." "James? Ryan James Whitmore." "I don't know your favorite color." "Blue." "I don't know." Okay. Ryan kissed her. It was soft and brief and tasted like salt from her tears. When he pulled back, Emily was staring at him with wide eyes. "That was—" she started. "A bad idea?" "I was going to say overdue." Ryan grinned. "So you'll stay, you and Noah?" Emily took a shaky breath. "On one condition." "What?" "I pay rent." "Emily, I'm serious. I have a job now. I can contribute. I need to contribute." Ryan wanted to argue, but he could see the steel in her eyes. This mattered to her. The independence, the ability to pay her own way. Okay, he said, we'll figure out something fair. Something actually fair. Not Billionaire decides what's fair. Fine. We'll have Noah arbitrate. Emily laughed. He'll side with you. He thinks you're some kind of superhero. Smart kid. Delusional kid. They stood in the kitchen grinning at each other like idiots. Then Emily's expression turned serious. We should tell the kids, she said. Yeah. They're going to lose their minds. Probably. And then we need to tell your mother-in-law. Ryan's grin faded. Can we skip that part? Absolutely not. If we're doing this, we're doing it right, which means telling Margaret before she finds out from Sophia. She's going to hate this. She already hates this. At least now we're being honest about it. Ryan sighed. Okay, kids first, then Margaret. They found Sophia and Noah in Sophia's room, building an elaborate city out of blocks and art supplies. Both kids looked up when Ryan and Emily appeared in the doorway. Are you guys being mushy again? Sophia asked immediately. No, Ryan said. Liar, you have that look. What look? The look grown-ups get when they're being weird about feelings. Emily bit back a smile. We actually wanted to talk to you both about something. Both kids immediately looked suspicious. Are we in trouble? Noah asked quietly. No, baby. Nothing like that. Emily sat on the floor next to them. Ryan followed. We wanted to ask you how you'd feel about something. About what? Sophia's eyes were sharp. Ryan glanced at Emily, who nodded. About Emily and Noah staying here, Ryan said. Permanently. Sophia's face lit up. Really? If that's okay with you. Are you kidding? That would be amazing. Sophia turned to Noah. Did you hear that? You're staying. Noah looked at his mother. We are. If you want to, Emily said softly. Would you like that? Noah's face did something complicated, then he nodded. I like it here, he said quietly. I like my room, and Sophia, and he looked at Ryan. And you're nice to my mom. Ryan felt something in his throat tighten. Well, your mom's pretty great. I know. Sophia was practically vibrating with excitement. Does this mean you're going to get married? What? Ryan said. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But you're together, right? Like boyfriend and girlfriend? Emily's face went red. It's complicated. That means yes, Sophia announced to Noah. Grown-ups always say it's complicated when the answer is yes, but they don't want to admit it. Your daughter is too smart for her own good, Emily muttered to Ryan. Yeah, I know. So can we decorate Noah's room? Sophia was already moving on. Because the guest room is boring, we should paint it and get posters. And we'll talk about it, Ryan said. That means no. It means we'll talk about it. The kids went back to their city, already planning elaborate renovations to Noah's room. Ryan and Emily retreated to the hallway. That went well, Emily said. Yeah. Now for the hard part. Ryan called Margaret that evening after the kids were in bed. She agreed to come over the next day. She arrived at 10 in the morning looking like she was dressed for battle. Tailored suit, perfect hair, expression that could cut glass. Robert came with her, looking apologetic. This better be important, Margaret said by way of greeting. I canceled a lunch meeting. It's important, Ryan said. Coffee? No, just tell me what's going on. They sat in the living room, Ryan and Emily on one couch, Margaret and Robert on the other. It felt like a business negotiation, which Ryan supposed it kind of was. Emily got a job, Ryan started. Margaret's expression didn't change. Congratulations. Thank you, Emily said quietly. She starts Monday, Ryan continued. Client relations manager at Crawford Media. How nice. Though I'm not sure why this required an emergency meeting. Because we wanted to tell you that Emily and Noah are going to stay here, permanently. The silence that followed was deafening. Margaret's face went through several expressions, shock, anger, something that might have been pain, before settling on cold fury. Permanently, she repeated. Yes, as in they're moving in. They're already living here, Margaret. This just makes it official. I see. Margaret's voice was ice. And when exactly were you planning to tell me that you're shacking up with a woman you met 2 weeks ago? Margaret, Robert started. No. She held up a hand. I want to hear this. Ryan, please explain to me how this is a good idea. Because I care about Emily, Ryan said, and she cares about me, and the kids are happy. And for the first time in 4 years, I actually want to come home at the end of the day. You've known her for 2 weeks. You keep saying that like it matters. It does matter. You're making life-altering decisions based on what? Loneliness? Grief? Some misguided attempt to replace Rachel? Emily flinched. Ryan felt anger surge in his chest. Don't, he said quietly. Don't bring Rachel into this. She's already in this. She's in everything you do, Ryan. You can't just replace her with the first woman who shows up and makes you feel less alone. I'm not trying to replace her. Then what are you doing? I'm trying to live. Actually live. Not just exist. Margaret's eyes were bright. And what about Sophia? Have you thought about what this does to her? Bringing another woman into her life, another child? What happens when this falls apart and she loses them both? It's not going to fall apart. You don't know that. No, but I'm willing to risk it. Even if it hurts your daughter? Sophia wants this. We asked her. She's 7 years old. She doesn't understand the consequences. Neither do you, Emily said quietly. Margaret's head snapped toward her. Excuse me? Emily's hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. You don't understand the consequences because you're so focused on what could go wrong that you can't see what's already going right. And what exactly is going right? Sophia's happy. She's laughing again. She's making friends and doing art and coming out of her shell. Noah has a stable home for the first time in months. Ryan's actually present instead of hiding in his office. And Emily's voice cracked. I finally feel like maybe things are going to be okay. Margaret's expression didn't soften. And when it all falls apart? When the novelty wears off and reality sets in? What then? Then we deal with it, like adults. You're asking me to trust that you won't hurt my granddaughter. I'm asking you to trust that I love her, that I would never intentionally hurt her, that I'm trying my best. Your best might not be good enough. The words hung in the air like poison. Ryan started to respond, but Emily squeezed his hand. You're right, she said to Margaret. My best might not be good enough. I might screw this up. I might hurt Sophia. I might hurt Ryan. I might fail at everything I'm trying to do here. She paused. But I'm going to try anyway, because they're worth it, and because for the first time in my life, I have a chance at something real, something good, and I'm not going to let fear stop me from reaching for it. Margaret stared at her. Robert looked like he wanted to say something but didn't know what. I was homeless 2 weeks ago, Emily continued. My son was sleeping in diners. I had nothing. And then Ryan, he saw us, actually saw us, not as charity cases or problems to solve, as people, as human beings who deserved kindness. Her voice was shaking now. I know you don't trust me. I know you think I'm after his money, or I'm using him, or I'm going to break his heart. And maybe you're right to worry, but I'm telling you right now, I love him. I love your granddaughter. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make this work. The silence that followed felt fragile. Then Margaret stood up. I need some air, she said. She walked out onto the terrace. Robert gave Ryan an apologetic look and followed. Emily was trembling. Ryan pulled her close. You okay? He asked. I just told your mother-in-law I love you. I noticed. In front of her. Yeah. I'm an idiot. You're brave. Emily laughed shakily. Same thing. They sat there holding each other while Margaret and Robert had a quiet, intense conversation on the terrace. Ryan couldn't hear the words, but he could see Margaret gesturing emphatically while Robert spoke in low tones. Finally, they came back inside. Margaret looked exhausted. I don't like this, she said. I think you're moving too fast. I think you're both going to get hurt, and I think Sophia is going to pay the price. I know, Ryan said. But, Margaret's voice softened slightly, but I also know I can't stop you, and I know that Sophia has been happier these past 2 weeks than she's been in a long time. She looked at Emily. I don't trust you. Not yet. But I'm willing to see where this goes. Emily's eyes widened. Really? Don't make me regret it. I won't, I promise. Margaret's smile was wan. Everyone makes promises. It's keeping them that matters. She and Robert left shortly after. The moment the elevator doors closed, Emily collapsed on the couch. That was terrifying, she said. You did great. I told her I love you. I noticed. In front of her. You mentioned. Emily looked at him. Did I mess up? No, you were honest. That's all we can do. She still doesn't trust me. Give her time. What if she never comes around? Ryan thought about it. Then she doesn't, but that's her choice, not ours. Emily nodded slowly. Okay. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Emily said, I really do love you, you know. I know. Even though you're terrible at cooking. I'm aware. And you work too much. Working on it. And you have emotional constipation issues. Ryan laughed. Okay, that's enough. Emily grinned. Just being honest. I love you too, Ryan said. Even though you're stubborn and independent to a fault and you refuse to let me help you. I let you help? Barely. I'm working on it. They smiled at each other. Then Emily's expression turned serious. What do we do now? She asked. Ryan thought about it. Now we live, we work, we raise our kids, we figure it out as we go. That's not much of a plan. It's the only one I've got. Emily leaned her head on his shoulder. Good enough for me. They sat there on the couch, the city humming outside, the future uncertain and terrifying and full of possibility. And for the first time in 4 years, Ryan Whitmore looked at the mess of his life and felt grateful. Because messy was real. Messy was human. Messy was what happened when you stopped hiding and started living. And he wouldn't trade it for anything. The following weeks fell into a new pattern. Emily started her job at Crawford Media, leaving early each morning in the professional clothes Ryan had helped her buy, over her strenuous objections about accepting more help. Noah started at the same private school as Sophia, paid for with a scholarship that Ryan had quietly arranged, and Emily had grudgingly accepted after Noah begged to go to school with his best friend. The penthouse transformed. Noah's room got painted blue with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. Emily's things gradually migrated from the guest room to Ryan's bedroom, though neither of them acknowledged it out loud until Sophia pointed out that Emily's toothbrush had been in Dad's bathroom for a week. Margaret remained skeptical but civil. She came for Sunday dinners and watched Emily with Sophia like a hawk, looking for any sign that this was all going to implode. But slowly, very slowly, her edges began to soften. Especially the day she arrived early and found Emily helping Sophia with a school project about family trees, patiently explaining how families came in all different shapes. Work became less consuming for Ryan. He still put in long hours, but he also left at 6 for family dinners. He took Fridays off to spend with the kids. He turned down the Singapore expansion after realizing it would mean months of travel. His board thought he'd lost his mind. His assistant thought he was having a midlife crisis. Ryan didn't care. One night in late February, almost 2 months after that Christmas at the bus stop, Ryan came home to find Emily on the terrace despite the cold. She was staring out at the city, wrapped in one of his jackets. Hey, he said, stepping outside. You okay? She turned. Her eyes were red. What happened? Ryan's chest tightened. Is it Noah? Sophia? No, everyone's fine. The kids are doing homework. Emily wiped her eyes. I got an email today from my old landlord. And? He found a renter for my storage unit, someone who will pay more. So he's clearing it out, giving me 2 weeks to claim my stuff or it gets donated. Ryan understood immediately. Your things, from before. Everything I owned, photos, clothes, furniture, my whole life before everything fell apart. Emily's voice cracked. I knew it was temporary. I knew I'd probably lose it. But seeing it in writing, Ryan pulled her close. We'll get it. Whatever you want to keep, we'll get it. There's no room here. We'll make room, or we'll rent a storage unit, or we'll figure something else out. But you're not losing your things. Emily was crying now. It's just stuff. It's not just stuff. It's your memories, your history. I don't even know if I want it back. Looking at it will just remind me of... She stopped. Of what? of how fast everything can disappear, how unstable everything is. Ryan tilted her face up. Emily, look at me. She did. This isn't unstable, he said. This is real. You have a job, a home, a family. That's not going to disappear. You can't promise that. No, but I can promise I'm not going anywhere. And neither are you. Emily searched his face. Then she nodded slowly. Okay, she said. Okay, we'll get my stuff. They spent the following Saturday at the storage unit in Queens. It was smaller than Ryan had imagined. A 10 by 10 space crammed with boxes and furniture and the remnants of Emily's previous life. Sophia and Noah came along, treating it like an adventure. They dug through boxes of books and old photos, asking questions about every item. Emily answered patiently, though Ryan could see the strain around her eyes. This is you? Sophia held up a photo of a much younger Emily at the beach, grinning at the camera. Yeah, I was 19. You look different. Less tired? Happier. Emily took the photo, stared at it for a long moment. I am happy now, she said quietly. Different happy, but still happy. They brought back 3 boxes of photos, some books, a few pieces of furniture that Emily couldn't bear to part with. The rest got donated. As they loaded the last box into Ryan's car, Emily stood staring at the now empty storage unit. You okay? Ryan asked. Yeah, just closing a chapter. And starting a new one, Emily smiled. When did you become such an optimist? When I met you? That's cheesy, but true. They drove back to Manhattan with the kids arguing about music in the back seat and Emily's hand in Ryan's and the last pieces of her old life safely packed away. That night, after the kids were asleep, Emily spread the photos across the living room floor. Ryan sat with her, listening as she told stories about each one. Her mother, who'd died when Emily was 16, her grandmother, who'd raised her after that, friends from high school she'd lost touch with, the restaurant where she'd worked for 5 years. I was good at that job, she said, holding a photo of herself in chef's whites. Really good. I thought I'd be there forever. You were a chef? Manager. But I cooked sometimes, when we were short-staffed. She set down the photo. I wanted to open my own place someday. Small. Intimate. The kind of restaurant where everyone knows your name. You still could. Emily laughed. With what capital? With mine. She looked at him sharply. Ryan, I'm serious. If you want to open a restaurant, we could make that happen. I'm not taking your money to start a business. Why not? Because that's too much. I already live in your apartment. You're paying for Noah's school. I can't. Emily, I have more money than I know what to do with. Why shouldn't I invest in something you're passionate about? Because then it's not mine. It's yours. Ryan understood. The same independence that made her insist on paying rent. The same pride that made her refuse gifts. Okay, he said. Then we'll call it a loan, with interest. You can pay me back when the restaurant is successful. Emily stared at him. You really believe I could do it? Yeah, I do. Her eyes filled. Why? Because I've seen you make magic with a box of pasta and some vegetables. Because you light up when you talk about food. Because you're brilliant and driven, and if you want to build something, you'll build it. Emily was quiet for a long time. Then she shook her head. Not yet, she said. I need to prove to myself I can make it on my own first. With the job at Crawford. With saving money and building stability. Then maybe someday. Okay, Ryan said. Someday. They packed up the photos. Emily kept out one, her grandmother smiling in a garden, and put it on the mantel. There, she said. Now it's official. This is home. Ryan looked at the photo, at Emily standing next to him, at the life they were building together, messy and imperfect and real. Yeah, he said, it is. Spring came to Manhattan like an apology, slowly, then all at once. The snow melted, the trees in Central Park turned green, and Emily had been living in Ryan's penthouse for 4 months when everything almost fell apart. It started with a phone call on a Tuesday in April. Emily was at work when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Is this Emily Carter? Yes. This is Detective Sarah Mendez with the NYPD. I'm calling about Marcus Hayes. Emily's blood went cold. Marcus. Noah's father, the man who disappeared 7 years ago and never looked back. What about him? Her voice came out strangled. He's been arrested. Drug possession with intent to distribute. During booking, he mentioned having a son. Noah Carter, age 6. We're required to notify... He has no rights to Noah. Emily was standing now, her heart pounding. He left before Noah was born. He's never paid a cent of child support. He has no legal claim. Ma'am, I understand, but... No, you don't understand. He walked away. He doesn't get to suddenly decide he's a father just because he got arrested. The detective's voice was patient. I'm not calling about custody, Ms. Carter. I'm calling because Mr. Hayes listed you as his emergency contact. He's asking to see you. Absolutely not. He says he has information about Noah's medical history, family medical history. He seemed to think it was important. Emily closed her eyes. Medical history, the one thing she'd never been able to provide when doctors asked. The blank space on every form that had always bothered her. When? She asked. Visiting hours are tomorrow afternoon. I can put you on the list if... Fine, I'll be there. Emily hung up and immediately called Ryan. He answered on the first ring. Hey, everything okay? No, can you... I need to talk to you. Can you come home? I'm in the middle of... Yes, of course. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Ryan made it in 15. He found Emily sitting on the couch, staring at nothing. What happened? He sat next to her, taking her hands. Emily told him about the call, about Marcus, about the medical history. You don't have to go, Ryan said immediately. I know. He doesn't deserve to see you. I know that too. But you're going anyway. Emily looked at him. What if Noah gets sick someday? What if there's something genetic and I don't know because I was too proud to talk to Marcus? Then we'll deal with it. We'll run tests. We'll figure it out. But if I could prevent it, Emily, he walked away from you. From Noah. You don't owe him anything. This isn't about him. It's about Noah. Ryan was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Okay, then I'm coming with you. Ryan? No arguments. You're not doing this alone. Emily wanted to protest, to say she could handle it. But the truth was, she didn't want to handle it alone. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you. They picked up the kids from school together that afternoon. Noah chattered about his day, something about a science project with Sophia involving baking soda volcanoes. Sophia complained about her math teacher. Everything was normal. Emily watched Noah in the rearview mirror and felt her chest tighten. How do you tell a 6-year-old that the father who abandoned him wants to meet? The answer, she decided, was that you didn't. Not until you knew what Marcus actually wanted. That night, after the kids were in bed, Emily couldn't sleep. She lay next to Ryan, staring at the ceiling. What if he wants custody? She whispered. He won't get it. He has no legal standing. What if he tries anyway? Then we'll fight him, with every lawyer I can afford. That's not... I can't let you... Ryan rolled over to face her. Emily, stop. This is what family does. We fight for each other. We're not... Emily stopped. They weren't married. Weren't even engaged. She had no legal claim to Ryan's resources. We're not what? Ryan asked quietly. Nothing. Emily. She closed her eyes. I was going to say we're not married, but that's not the point. Isn't it? Emily's eyes snapped open. What? Ryan was looking at her with an expression she couldn't read. Maybe it should be the point, he said. Maybe we should get married. Emily's heart stopped. What? I'm not proposing, not like this. Not when you're stressed about Marcus. Ryan's voice was careful. But I'm saying, I want to marry you, Emily, someday. When the time is right. I want you to know that. Emily felt tears burning behind her eyes. Ryan, you don't have to say anything. I wanted you to know that this is real for me. That I'm in this for the long haul. Emily kissed him. It was desperate and grateful, and full of everything she couldn't put into words. I want that too, she whispered against his mouth. Someday. Someday, Ryan agreed. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, and Emily dreamed of bus stops and snow and a life she'd never dared to imagine. The next afternoon, they stood outside the detention center in Lower Manhattan. Emily's hands were shaking. "We can still leave," Ryan said. "No, I need to do this." They went through security, signed in, got escorted to a visiting room with plastic chairs and fluorescent lights that made everything look sick. Marcus was already there when they arrived. Emily barely recognized him. 7 years had not been kind. He looked older, thinner, with the kind of exhaustion that came from hard living. But his eyes? Those were the same eyes she remembered, the ones that had promised her everything and delivered nothing. He stood when he saw her. "Emily, sit down." Her voice was ice. Marcus sat. His eyes moved to Ryan. "Who's this?" "None of your business." "Is he Noah's?" "I said it's none of your business." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I just wanted to know if my son has a—" "Your son?" Emily's laugh was bitter. "You lost the right to call him that when you walked away." "I was 23. I was scared. And I was 23 and pregnant and terrified, but I didn't run." I know I screwed up." Screwed up implies a mistake. You made a choice. You chose to abandon your child." Marcus flinched. "Good," Emily thought savagely. He should flinch. "The detective said you have medical information," Ryan said quietly. His hand was on Emily's back, steadying. Marcus looked at Ryan, then back to Emily. "Yeah, my father, Noah's grandfather, he died last year. Heart attack at 52. Turns out he had some genetic condition, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. The doctor said it runs in families. That Noah should get tested." Emily's world tilted. "What?" "It's treatable if you catch it early. But if you don't—" Marcus's voice cracked. "I know I don't deserve to ask, but please, get him tested." Emily couldn't breathe. A genetic heart condition. Noah could be walking around with a time bomb in his chest. "What else?" Ryan asked. His voice was steady, even though Emily could feel him tensing beside her. "That's it. Just the heart thing." Marcus looked at Emily. Can I see him? Just once?" "No." "Emily, you don't get to see him. You don't get to suddenly decide you're a father because you got arrested and felt guilty." "I think about him every day." "Then you should have been there every day for the past 6 years. I was messed up. I was using. I couldn't—" "I don't care about your excuses." Emily stood. "Thank you for the medical information. We'll get Noah tested, but that's it. You don't get anything else from us." "Please, just let me see a picture. Let me know he's okay." Emily pulled out her phone, found a recent photo, Noah and Sophia, at the park, both grinning at the camera. She held it up for 3 seconds, then put it away. "He's perfect," she said. "He's smart and kind, and he has a family who loves him, people who show up, people who stay. That's all you get to know." Marcus's eyes were wet. Does he ask about me?" "No, because he has a father. Someone who reads to him at night and helps with homework and teaches him to ride a bike. Someone who actually wants to be there." She was talking about Ryan. They both knew it. Marcus looked at Ryan with something that might have been envy or regret or both. "Take care of them," Marcus said quietly. "I will," Ryan said. Emily walked out before she could start crying. Ryan followed. They made it to the car before Emily broke down. "He looks so—" She couldn't finish. "I know. And Noah might have— We'll get him tested, tomorrow. I'll call the best cardiologist in the city." Emily nodded against his chest. "I hate him. I know. But part of me almost felt sorry for him." "That's because you're a good person. A good person would have let him see a photo for longer. A good person protects her child from people who hurt him, even if they're related by blood." Emily pulled back to look at Ryan. "You really think you're his father now?" It wasn't a question. Ryan met her eyes. "I think I love him like he's my son, if that counts." Emily kissed him. "It counts." They drove home in silence. Emily texted her boss that she wouldn't be back that afternoon. Ryan canceled his remaining meetings. When they picked up the kids from school, Emily held Noah a little tighter. "Mom, you're squishing me," he complained. "Sorry, just love you, baby." "Love you too. Can we get ice cream?" Emily laughed. "Yeah, we can get ice cream." They got ice cream. They went to the park. They did normal things while Emily's mind raced with worst-case scenarios. That night, after Noah was asleep, she and Ryan sat the kids down. "We need to talk to you about something," Emily started. Sophia's eyes went wide. "Are you breaking up?" "What? No." "Are you getting married?" "Not. That's not what this is about." "Then what?" Ryan took over. "Noah needs to go to the doctor for some tests. Nothing scary, just routine. But we wanted you both to know." Noah looked worried. "Am I sick?" "No, baby. We just need to check something. Make sure your heart is healthy." "My heart?" "It's probably fine, but we want to be sure." Sophia grabbed Noah's hand. "I'll come with you. To the doctor, if you want." Noah looked at her gratefully. "Okay." The appointment was scheduled for Friday. Ryan called in every favor he had to get them in with Dr. Patricia Chen, no relation to Margaret, though Emily had almost laughed at the coincidence. The top pediatric cardiologist in New York. The tests took 3 hours. Echocardiogram, EKG, blood work. Noah was brave through all of it, though Emily could see him getting more anxious as the day wore on. Sophia held his hand the entire time. Ryan paced the waiting room like a caged animal. Finally, Dr. Chen called them into her office. "The good news is that Noah doesn't show any current signs of cardiomyopathy," she said. Emily felt her knees go weak. "Thank God!" "However, he does carry the genetic marker, which means he has an increased risk of developing it later." "What does that mean?" Ryan asked. "It means we monitor him. Annual checkups, echocardiograms every year. If we catch any changes early, we can manage it with medication and lifestyle modifications." "But he's okay now?" "He's perfectly healthy right now, and with monitoring, we can keep him that way." Emily started crying. Ryan pulled her close while Dr. Chen explained the follow-up plan. Annual appointments, warning signs to watch for, lifestyle recommendations. When they finally left, Noah looked up at Emily. "Are you crying because I'm okay or because I'm sick?" "Because you're okay, baby. Because you're going to be fine." "Then why are you sad?" "I'm not sad. I'm relieved." "Relieved looks a lot like sad." Emily laughed through her tears. "Yeah, sometimes it does." That night, after the kids were finally asleep, both of them, because Sophia had insisted on a sleepover in Noah's room, Ryan found Emily on the terrace. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey, you okay?" "He's going to be fine." "Yeah, he is." Emily turned to face him. "Thank you, for today, for being there." "Where else would I be?" "I don't know. Your office, a board meeting, literally anywhere else that's less stressful than a pediatric cardiology appointment." Ryan pulled her close. "There's nowhere else I'd rather be than with you, with our kids." "Our kids?" The words settled into Emily's chest like truth. "I want to marry you," she said. Ryan pulled back to look at her. "What?" "You said someday. I want someday to be soon. Emily, I know it's fast. I know we've only been together for 4 months. But I don't care. I want to marry you. I want to be a family, legally, officially, all of it." Ryan was staring at her like she'd just offered him the world. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Completely. Because we can wait. We don't have to rush." Emily kissed him. "I've spent my entire life waiting for something good to happen, and then you happened, and I'm done waiting." Ryan grinned. "Okay. Okay. Okay, let's get married." Emily laughed. "Just like that?" "Just like that." They stood on the terrace holding each other while the city sparkled below and everything felt possible. "Should we tell the kids?" Emily asked. "Probably." "They're going to lose their minds." "Absolutely." But they didn't tell them that night. That night they just held each other and talked about the future, about wedding plans and family dynamics, and whether they wanted more kids someday. "Margaret is going to have opinions," Emily said. "Margaret has opinions about everything. She still doesn't fully trust me. She's getting there. Did you see her at dinner last Sunday? She actually smiled when you made that joke about my cooking." "That was pity, not trust." Ryan laughed. "Give her time." Emily thought about Margaret, about the way she watched Emily with Sophia, about the slow thaw that had been happening over the past few months. "Do you think she'll ever really accept me?" Emily asked. I think she already does. She's just stubborn about admitting it. The next morning, they told the kids. Sophia screamed so loud that the neighbors probably heard. Noah just grinned and asked if this meant they were going to be real siblings. We already are real siblings, Sophia said fiercely. But yeah, it'll be official. Cool. That's it? Just cool? Noah shrugged. I already knew they were going to get married. How? Because they look at each other weird. Weird how? Like, I don't know, like they're really happy but also kind of scared. Emily and Ryan exchanged glances. Out of the mouths of babes, Ryan muttered. They told Margaret over Sunday dinner the following week. She set down her wine glass very carefully. You're getting married, she repeated. Yes, Emily said. Her voice was steady even though her hands were shaking under the table. When? We haven't set a date yet. Soon, though. Margaret looked at Ryan. You're sure about this? Completely. And you? She turned to Emily. You're not just doing this for stability? For Noah? Emily met her eyes. I'm doing this because I love your son-in-law. Because I want to spend my life with him. Because he makes me happy, and I make him happy, and we're good together. Margaret was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Rachel would have liked you. Emily's breath caught. It was the first time Margaret had said anything positive about her in relation to Rachel. Really? Emily's voice came out small. She would have hated that Ryan was alone, that Sophia was growing up without someone. Margaret's eyes were bright. She would have wanted him to find someone who loves him, someone who sees him for who he is and not just what he has. I do see him, Emily said quietly. All of him. The good and the parts he thinks aren't good enough. Margaret nodded slowly. I know, I've been watching, and I've seen the way he is with you, the way he's changed. He's alive again. Ryan's hand found Emily's under the table and squeezed. I'm sorry I've been difficult, Margaret continued. I was protecting Sophia, and maybe I was protecting Rachel's memory, afraid that someone new would erase her. I would never try to replace her, Emily said. Rachel is Sophia's mother, always. I'm just trying to be someone who loves Sophia too, in my own way. Margaret wiped her eyes. I know, and you're doing a good job, better than I wanted to admit. So you're okay with this? With us getting married? Margaret smiled. It was watery but genuine. I'm more than okay with it. I'm happy for you, both of you. Sophia, who had been eavesdropping from the hallway with Noah, chose that moment to burst in. Does this mean we can plan a wedding? Margaret laughed. Yes, darling, we can plan a wedding. They got married on a Saturday in June at the Central Park Boathouse. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Sophia was Emily's maid of honor. Noah was Ryan's best man. Both kids took their roles incredibly seriously. Margaret cried through the entire ceremony. Robert gave Emily away, which made her cry. Ryan's vows were simple. You saved me. In every way a person can be saved. I love you. I'll love you tomorrow. I'll love you for all the tomorrows after that. Emily's vows were messier. She cried through half of them, had to stop and start over twice, and finally just said, You saw me when I was invisible. You gave me hope when I had none. You loved my son like he was yours. I will spend the rest of my life trying to deserve that. I love you so much. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. The reception was loud and chaotic and perfect. Sophia and Noah gave a toast that was supposed to be funny, but ended up being surprisingly sweet. Margaret hugged Emily and whispered, Welcome to the family, officially. And when Ryan and Emily had their first dance to a song neither of them had planned but that Sophia had insisted on, Emily looked around the room at all the people who'd shown up for them and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. You okay? Ryan whispered. Yeah, this is real, right? This isn't a dream? It's real. A year ago I was homeless, and now I'm married to you. Standing in the Central Park Boathouse wearing a dress that costs more than my first car. How did this happen? Ryan smiled. A kid asked me why I looked sad. Emily laughed. That's really how this all started, isn't it? Yeah, we should thank him. We will, later, when he's not currently eating his third piece of cake. They looked over at Noah, who was indeed shoving cake into his face, while Sophia tried to teach him proper fork technique. They're good kids, Emily said. The best. We're going to screw them up somehow, aren't we? Probably, but we'll do our best not to. Good enough for me. They danced in silence for a moment. Then Ryan said, I have something to tell you. Uh-oh. What? I've been working on something, with Margaret, actually. Really? A foundation for homeless single parents, job placement, housing assistance, childcare support, everything you needed and couldn't get. Emily stopped dancing. Ryan, I want you to run it. If you want. It would be full-time, real salary, benefits, the whole thing. What about Crawford Media? You've been telling me for months that you're bored there, that it's not what you thought it would be. Emily had been saying that because client relations wasn't her passion. It was just a job, a means to an end. What about my restaurant dream, she asked. The foundation would have a culinary training program for people who want to work in food service. You'd help design the curriculum, partner with restaurants, place graduates in jobs. Ryan paused. And maybe, eventually, open your own place. Using what you learned. Hire people from the program. Make it part of the mission. Emily felt tears building again. You really thought this through. I had help. Margaret has connections in the nonprofit world. She's actually pretty passionate about this. Margaret helped plan this? Turns out she's been looking for something meaningful to do since Robert retired. This gives her a purpose, and it means we'd be working together, you and her, building something good. Emily thought about it, about helping other families like hers, about giving people the second chance she'd gotten, about working alongside Margaret to build something that mattered. Yes, she said. Yeah, I want to do it. Ryan grinned. Yeah? Yeah. He kissed her, right there on the dance floor while their friends and family cheered. When they finally pulled apart, Emily was laughing. What? Ryan asked. I was just thinking, a year ago I was sitting in a diner on Christmas trying to figure out where Noah and I would sleep. And now I'm married to you and starting a foundation, and I have a family and a home, and I'm terrified that I'm going to wake up and it'll all be gone. Ryan's expression softened. It's not going anywhere, none of it. This is real. This is your life now. Our life. Our life, Ryan agreed. The rest of the night blurred together, dancing and laughter and toasts and cake, Sophia and Noah running around causing chaos, Margaret actually smiling at Emily without reservation, Robert telling embarrassing stories about Ryan as a kid. At the end of the night, when all the guests had left and it was just the four of them, Ryan, Emily, Sophia, and Noah, they stood outside the boathouse looking at the lights on the water. This was the best day ever, Sophia announced. Agreed, Noah said. Should we tell them? Ryan asked Emily. Tell us what? Sophia's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Emily smiled. We're going on a honeymoon, all four of us. Really? Really? 2 weeks in Italy? Rome, Florence, Venice? All the pasta and gelato you can eat. Yes! Noah pumped his fist. When do we leave? Sophia asked. Next week. I need to pack. I need to make a list. You have a week, Ryan said. Relax. But Sophia was already planning, dragging Noah along to discuss what they needed to bring. Emily leaned against Ryan and looked at the city skyline. You know what's funny? She said. What? I used to think success meant having money, stability, security, all the things I didn't have. And now? Now I think it means having people who show up, who stay, who love you even when you're a mess. Ryan kissed the top of her head. You're not a mess. I'm definitely a mess, but I'm your mess now. Lucky me. They stood there for a while watching the water before heading home to the penthouse that was now officially Emily's too. Home to the kids who were now officially siblings. Home to the life they'd built together from nothing but hope and stubbornness and a chance encounter at a bus stop. That night, lying in bed with Ryan, Emily thought about Noah's question from a year ago. Why do you look so sad? Such a simple question, but it had changed everything, because Ryan had been sad and lonely and lost, and so had she. But they'd found each other anyway, in the mess and the chaos and the impossible timing of it all. What are you thinking about? Ryan asked. Bus stops, Emily said. Random. Not really. I was thinking about how everything started, how we could have just walked past each other that night and never, but we didn't. But we didn't, Emily agreed. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Noah hadn't asked that question? Emily thought about it. Yeah, sometimes. I think we both would have survived. We're good at surviving, but I don't know if we would have lived. Ryan understood, because surviving and living were different things. You could survive by going through the motions, checking boxes, making it through each day, but living required being vulnerable, taking risks, letting people in even when it was terrifying. I'm glad he asked, Ryan said. Me too. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, and Emily dreamed of the future instead of the past. The foundation launched in September. They called it Second Chances. Simple, direct, impossible to misunderstand. Margaret threw herself into fundraising with the same intensity she'd once brought to protecting Sophia. Emily designed programs with input from people who'd actually been homeless, who understood the barriers and the bureaucracy and the desperation. Their first family graduated in November. 3 single mothers, 2 single fathers, all placed in stable jobs with housing support and childcare assistance. Emily cried at the ceremony. You're going soft, Ryan teased. Shut up, you were crying too. That was allergies. In November? Very persistent allergies. They went home that night to find Sophia and Noah had made them a congratulations banner. It was crooked and covered in glitter and one of the best things Emily had ever seen. We're proud of you, Sophia said seriously. Both of you, Noah added. Emily hugged them both. Thank you, babies. We're not babies, Saad, Sophia protested, but she hugged back anyway. By December, they'd helped 23 families. Not a huge number, not nearly enough, but 23 families who now had hope, who had a chance. On Christmas Eve, exactly 1 year after that night at the bus stop, Ryan suggested they go back. Why? Emily asked. To remember. I remember just fine. Please, I want to show the kids where it all started. So they went, all 4 of them, to the Madison Avenue bus stop where Ryan had sat alone and miserable, and Emily had tried to keep Noah warm while figuring out where they'd sleep. It looked different now, smaller, less significant. This is it? Sophia asked. This is where you met? Yeah, Ryan said, right here. It's just a bus stop. I know, but it's our bus stop. Emily looked at the bench where Ryan had been sitting, at the sidewalk where she'd stood with Noah, at the city that had seemed so hostile then and felt like home now. What were you thinking, Sophia asked Ryan, when you were sitting here alone? Ryan looked at Emily. I was thinking that I had everything and nothing at the same time, that I was successful and miserable, that I didn't know how to fix it. And then we showed up, Noah said, and then you showed up. And I asked why you looked sad. And you asked why I looked sad, Ryan confirmed. And now you're not sad anymore. Ryan pulled Emily close. Now I'm not sad anymore. They stood at the bus stop for a while, talking about how different things were, how much had changed, how grateful they all were for a random moment of kindness that had turned into a family. Can we make this a tradition? Sophia asked. Coming here every Christmas Eve? To a bus stop. Emily smiled. Why? Because it's where our family started. Even if it's just a bus stop, it's our bus stop. Emily looked at Ryan. He was smiling. Okay, Emily said. Yeah, let's make it a tradition. So they did. Every Christmas Eve after that, they came back to the Madison Avenue bus stop, sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for an hour. Sometimes they brought hot chocolate. Sometimes they brought flowers to leave on the bench, though Emily was never sure what the point of that was. But they came. Every year, to remember. Because the truth was that life was fragile, success was temporary, security was an illusion. But showing up mattered. Asking questions mattered. Seeing people, really seeing them, mattered. A billionaire who'd forgotten how to live had met a woman who'd forgotten how to hope, and somehow they'd saved each other. Not because either of them was perfect, not because they had all the answers, but because a 6-year-old boy had asked a simple question at exactly the right moment. Why do you look so sad? And instead of lying, Ryan had been honest. And instead of walking away, Emily had stayed. And that had made all the difference. Years later, when people asked how they met, Emily and Ryan would smile and say, "At a bus stop on Christmas." And people would laugh and ask for the real story. But that was the real story. Sometimes the most important moments in life happened in the most ordinary places. Sometimes salvation came from strangers. Sometimes family wasn't about blood, but about who showed up when it mattered. Sometimes you just had to be brave enough to ask why someone looked sad. And sometimes you had to be brave enough to answer honestly. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, that honesty led to something real, something lasting, something worth fighting for. Emily learned that love wasn't about perfection. It was about showing up, about staying even when it was hard, about choosing each other every single day. Ryan learned that success wasn't measured in dollars or deals. It was measured in the people who loved you, the kids who ran to hug you when you came home, the partner who saw your flaws and loved you anyway. And together, they learned that second chances were real, that broken things could be mended, that empty lives could be filled, all because of one question, one moment, one choice to see another person's pain and actually do something about it. The bus stop stood on Madison Avenue, unchanged and unremarkable. Hundreds of people passed it every day without a second thought. But for one family, it was sacred ground. The place where everything changed. The place where loneliness met desperation and somehow became love. The place where a billionaire and a homeless woman found something neither of them knew they were looking for: each other. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.